Hello everybody, welcome to a new video. I am currently looking at my first video that I made on this series, and I just finished The Last of Us Part 2. And I feel like for some reason that it is a perfect sequel. And I just wanted to come on here and just kind of talk about that for a little bit. Just kind of the way that I did with the first game. I just kind of talked about the game for 7 minutes. Just no, I don't have a script. I'm just here. We're just talking. I feel like if you look at it from on a pay-per-view, that it should not make sense that this game is a perfect sequel. But it continues the story from the first game, killing off one of the main characters. One of the characters that kind of, led this whole game's charge. And I mean, obviously, if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna kill off such an important character like Joel, I think that the way that they continued the rest of the game without him is like, I don't think they could have done it any better. It should not make sense that switching perspectives to a random character that you have never seen before for over half the game, there's no reason that should work. But it does. In this case, it works, in my opinion. The game that it took me 18 hours to beat the game. I don't even know how to talk about this. It basically just kind of opened your eyes to all perspectives, and I think that there's a bit of a religious element to this game, and if you played it, you know what I'm talking about. If you know what I'm talking about with the Seraphites, there's a big kind of religious portion in the middle of this game, and I think that some of the stories that made up religion tells, it opens your eyes to kind of how people are feeling throughout the game. Because I know me personally, when Abby and Lev are crossing the sky bridges and Abby's really starting to get to know this kid and start to get to know his religion, it's kind of when Abby starts to, see things from a wider perspective. And it also personally helped me think about how everybody at the time is feeling and what is going on at that point in the game. I just think that it's such a smart move by the developers to do something like that, and I hope that was intentional, because I think what they did was extremely smart. I don't think that they could have come up with a better story. I think there are some parts here and there that could have been fixed, but yeah, it once again, such an emotional game. I mean, the first, and I'm not afraid to talk about this, right? I don't cry very much over games and movies. Actually, I never did. I never played a game where it was so emotional that I cried until I played The Last of Us Part 1. That was one of the most emotional experiences that I've ever experienced. I'm young enough, thankfully, that I haven't experienced loss in my life. And so kind of seeing it through the eyes of these people who really, I get to see what they're going through and their whole, the way their mind spirals. It is the art. It's just such a beautiful direction of gameplay from the first game, and it carries over to the second one. You get to see Joel die, and you played as Joel for 10 hours in the first game. At least that's how long it took me. This character, you know who he is, you're familiar with everything, that all of his family, all of everything. And then, not even 4 hours into the second game, he's dead. And you get to kind of see how Ellie perceives death as a close member to her, as she did not have anybody kind of growing up. So I think it's just the way that they conveyed the game, to me at least, was a beautiful way of conveying emotions that people don't see super often, or at least people kind of playing these games don't see super often. Like myself, I was not there. I was not at all educated on the topic of death and how that affected people. And yeah, it's just an amazing emotional game. And I think that the way the story connects is almost perfect in a sense where you get to kind of see what Ellie does, and then you get to see kind of how Abby is affected by those things. After you're done with Ellie's part of the first half of the story, and then you're in Abby's part, and you're talking about people who, died, like Abby's friends who died in the game, and then you find out that it was Ellie because you remember from previous that it was her in the game from the first part. And when you see Tommy, Tommy is the whole game. Tommy's just kind of this mysterious person who you see a lot at the beginning. First couple hours with Ellie, you get to see him, and he goes off to Seattle before Ellie does, and then you don't see him again until like really late in Abby's story, where you are literally chasing him, and then you get to see him for just a sliver of a moment when Abby is with one of her last remaining friends that's alive. And then you're chasing down this guy who just, all we know about him is that he's a super sniper, killed all of Abby's friends, like whole squad. You chase him down, and then you watch him shoot Abby's friend right in front of you, and you're like, holy shit, that's Tommy. So I think the way that the game kind of relays back on itself is it's amazing, and I don't think that it's going to have a hard time, other games are going to have a hard time replicating that. Yeah, I think that it has an amazing story, and I definitely want to do a video with it at some point in the future. This is just kind of, ending stuff. I kind of want to do a video with it where I play the grounded difficulty because, I just heard that it's hard. But, yeah, I think it's an amazing game. If you haven't had the opportunity yet to play The Last of Us or The Last of Us Part 2, I implore you to do so. I think that it is a amazing emotional experience that I think is important that gamers go through, because gaming, it's hard to kind of convey emotion through games, whereas in games like this it is perfectly done, and there's just enough cutscene where it feels like less of a game. Like if you were playing, say, Resident Evil, that's a lot more strict gameplay where you're just playing and you're more focused on what's going on at the game, whereas The Last of Us has a lot of cutscenes and a lot of story in between all like the fighting and stuff, so you can really focus on the characters and get to know them and develop like feelings for them. But yeah, I think that it's really important that everybody plays those two games. If you haven't, and if you can't, I recommend watching a silent playthrough. It is a long, they are long games, but I think that it is an amazing storytelling game, and I don't think they could have cooked up anything better. But yep, that's gonna be it for me. Let me know what you guys want to see in the comments if you want to see me review any other games. Sorry that videos are taking a long time to get out. I'm really trying, but I'm very busy. But that's gonna be it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.